What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was forgotten? Until he became the most dangerous shinobi alive. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto, he is boy who was born without chakra, neglected in favor of genius twin sisters Natsumi and Yoko. The twins got everything they ever wanted, Naruto got the bare minimum. Things only got worse a year after he was born when a younger brother was born, Ryu. During the Kyuubi attack they were able to hold it off long enough for the fourth to seal it into the newborn. Now that a child with the limitless powers of a fox demon was brought into the family, Naruto was further ignored. It was also shown that Naruto had a great deal of misfortune. Barely anything went right, it also affected those around him. This caused him to be avoided by kids his age. The 8-year-old Naruto stared out the window into the family training ground. He had a distraught look on his face. His entire family was out there: mother, father, older sisters, younger brother. All of them having above average chakra reserves while he didn't have an ounce, which made his parents uneasy for two reasons. One, they were ashamed. Two, he was a living challenge to all the laws that chakra theories were created on. Even civilians had chakra of some size, but not Naruto. This also caused grief outside the house too. Minato apparently had an overzealous fan club that saw Naruto as a disappointment as the fourth's offspring and sent him dirty looks, sneers, and insults. And a little over 2 years ago they formed lynch mobs to go after him. Well, not for much longer. He has been making a plan to escape the village and been training with weighted gear in secret. He hasn't gotten too far due to being alone with it. He may be able to hold off a Chunin long enough to escape, but that's it. His weights are at least 30 pounds. They probably never notice his physique because they never really gave a damn. One more week and I am gone, he thought. With a small grin, the plan was simple. The Hokage was throwing a huge festival because his older sisters were having a birthday. The whole village will be out and about. Security will be mostly drunk at that time. Just move through the crowd and keep his head low, that should work. Naruto picked up a book on wilderness survival and began to read. This was volume 4 of a 5-volume set. He was planning on finishing the last book the day before he left Hokage's tower. Several days later, Minato has just finished his work for the day and was preparing to go home. He was just putting the last paper in the pile as he thought about his family. His beautiful wife Kushina, who he has had a happy marriage with, his oldest twin daughters Natsumi and Yoko, who work in perfect synchronization with each other, his youngest son Ryu, who is pretty much guaranteed to become a great shinobi due to the 9 tails being sealed in him, and Naruto. He didn't realize it until now, but he didn't know his middle child, that he had to push him aside to train the others due to him not having any chakra. He noticed how little he has ever seen Naruto even though he lives with them. It greatly troubled him. Even though Naruto didn't have chakra, I could have at least taught him hand-to-hand techniques. Miyantos's thought process continued along these lines until he reached home. As he opened the door, his wife was there to greet him. "Hello dear, welcome home," said Kushina with a smile that eased his troubles up a bit, but his face still betrayed his uneasiness, which did not go unnoticed by his wife. "Is there something wrong, honey?" Minato contemplated whether he should tell her not, in which telling her might make her worry unnecessarily, but he relented. "It's Naruto," he finally said, with his wife giving him a confused look. "I realized that I don't really know him that well and I feel like I may have pushed him away with training the others." Kushina thought about it too and realized she didn't know her son too well either. "Come to think it, I don't know him that well at all either," she said with a distraught look on her face. "The only time I see him is breakfast or dinner. What he does during the day is a complete mystery. We're horrible parents, aren't we?" Kushina was beginning to gather tears in her eyes. "I know, even though he doesn't have chakra, that is no excuse for us neglecting him like we did," said Minato. "Starting tomorrow I will begin training him in our clan's hand-to-hand combat style." He said this with determination in his voice. "The twins' birthday is tomorrow," said Kushina. "Then I'll train him the day after," said Minato. "You should tell the other children I'll go make an extra big dinner for all of us to eat," Kushina said with a smile as she set out to do what she planned. Naruto later. Naruto was panting as he walked up the stairs to the family complex. The sun was near setting. "God damn it, the Hokage's fan club is getting violent. They chased me around half the day with knives and pitchforks. Good thing I've been training these last few years or I'd be screwed right now." Naruto reached the complex gates and went inside, continuing the mental rant to himself. As he got inside the main house, he didn't hear any noise in the kitchen. "Guessed I missed dinner," He thought to himself. As we walked past the kitchen door, he noticed something odd and backed up to see the entire family waiting with smiling faces, except Ryu looked a little uneasy in a large dinner that seemed untouched by them. What the hell is going on here? Hello Naruto, we've been waiting for you. You're a little late, said Kushina, still smiling. Oh, what the hell, thought Naruto, incredibly confused now. Sorry. Not exactly used to people waiting on me. Especially you guys, he added mentally. A sign of guilt flashed across the family faces. Can we hurry up and eat? Yelled Ryu. We've been waiting for 10 minutes for this guy to come home and I'm starving. An annoyed look was shown on his face. How about you try being chased around by an angry group of villagers and see how fast you get home? Yelled Naruto as the family looked at him stunned. Sorry, I had a long day. He collected himself and sat down, the group still looking at him. You were chased by the villagers, said Natsumi, older sister instincts kicking in. How long has this been going on? 2 years maybe, Naruto replied, a little uneasy at the attention he was getting. Why didn't you tell us? Asked Kushina, concerned for her son. Tried to, you said you were too busy to deal with me, and eventually I just stopped caring, answered Naruto. Anyways, why is everyone caring all of a sudden? Well Naruto, said Minato, shocked at the info he received. I began to feel like you're a stranger in our house. Feelings mutual, thought Naruto. And so I decided to begin to train you in hand-to-hand combat. Finished Minato with a grin on his face while everyone looked at Naruto smiling. Alright, that's it, I'm out, said Naruto, getting up from his seat, gathering confused looks. I appreciate what you're trying to do, I really do, but this is all a little weird for me because I'm not used to any giving a damn. So good night and maybe see you in the morning. With that, Naruto walked up to his room, opened the door and quickly shut it. He sat in silence in front of the door for a few minutes. That almost made me want to stay, he said to himself with tears rolling down his face. Yoko. After Yoko finished dinner, she walked up to her brother's room in an attempt to bond and seek forgiveness from him. She saw how lonely he was but didn't do anything about it. She was about to open his door. That almost made me want to stay, came the sad voice of her brother. This made her pause and lower her hand from the doorknob and walked to her room, where Natsumi was already reading on her bed when Yoko came in. So how'd it go? Asked Natsumi, putting her book down. With Naruto, I mean. Yoko paused and looked at her. Before I went in I heard say that almost made want to stay, explained Yoko. It may just be nothing, I mean where would he go if he left, but still. It's probably nothing, said Natsumi. Hey, tomorrow's our birthday. Yeah it is, replied Yoko, cheering up. After a few hours of mindless chatter they went to sleep, excited for tomorrow. The birthday. The next day everything went great for the girls. They went around town, played games, hung out with their numerous friends. Everything was perfect until that night. Their friends all left, leaving only the family home, and began to open presents. They were happy with what they got. Then came Naruto's present. It was a small plain box. When they opened they found 2 necklaces and a letter. Dear sisters and family, happy birthday. I hope you like the necklaces I bought you. They're blue and green. Just because you guys don't know my favorite colors doesn't mean I don't know yours. Anyways, on to the sad news. If you are reading this, then I'm out of the village by now and heading off to who knows where. I want to make it perfectly clear that I don't hate any of you. I just felt like I didn't fit in with you, that I was some stranger to you and you to me, so I have set out on my own. Sincerely, Naruto. Peace. Ryu is becoming an arrogant little brat. Someone beat him out of it in case we meet again, and I had to do it for you. That's when they realized that Naruto hasn't been there the whole day. The message brought tears to the eyes of the family and a bit of anger to Ryu. Their son, brother was gone from their lives, possibly forever. A boy around the age of 10 was walking through the forest. He was wearing a green combat jacket with no short underneath and camouflaged baggy cargo pants. He wields 2 short tanto machetes with sheaths strapped to his back and a green bandana on his head that covered most of his brown hair. Who the hell wants to be a ninja anyways? He muttered to himself. You see, recently he's had run-in with some ninja. In his words, they were pale-eyed jackasses with 10-foot poles that got shoved up their ass in their childhood, or were they born with one? The pale-eyed people seem to be like that. Even at his young age this kid is a wanderer. Like Naruto, he has no chakra and not accepted if people find out his condition, especially around ninjas. He is an orphan who no one really cared enough about to adopt. Never knowing his parents, he grew up lonely due to the fact he never knew his parents, and also like Naruto had a great deal of misfortune surrounding him too. Eventually the village he grew up in had enough of his bad luck and kicked him out. Ever since then he's been wandering the elemental continent. His machetes aren't just for show either, he can use them pretty skillfully for 10-year-old, enough to defeat run-of-the-mill bandits and possibly low-rank ninjas, though the latter doesn't really give him the time of day. But nothing really seems to keep him down. Even getting kicked out of his home kept him sad for a few minutes. Alright. To whoever is running the freaking universe, the gods? Fate? I don't give a damn. You can send your paled-eyed peons at me all you want, but I'll bounce right back because I'm the one and only Nanashi. The now-named Nanashi yelled this while pointing at the sky. He says this because more often than not the ninja he's pissed off at are usually talking about fate. Personality traits include extreme confidence, an unbreakable will, and a need to help those in need. Also, he's a bit crazy. Not, I talk to my friends who are invisible to everyone but me, kind of crazy, but the kind of crazy where he pulls of stunts that no one would dare to do or think of. As Nanashi continues farther down the road, he comes across a group of armed people in ragged clothing at the entrance of a bridge. He knows what this means. Crap. Bandits seriously don't want to deal with these people today. As Nanashi kept walking toward the bridge, he became edgier and clenched his fists. Just keep walking, Nanashi, maybe they're just loitering, they're not going to ask you for a toll, he thought, trying to reassure himself. Hey, kid, said a bandit that seemed to be the leader, there's a toll for using this bridge. God damn it, thought Nanashi. Alright then, time for some exercise. Hey, kid, you gonna pay or just stand there like an idiot, said the leader while the others chuckled. Nanashi grimaced and punched the leader in the face, knocking him into the river. Boss, cried out the remaining gang members. Then one turned to glare at Nanashi. You're dead, kid, and he charged. Nanashi sidestepped the bandit's dagger swipe and put his foot in front of the bandit's way, making him stumble. Nanashi then jumped and delivered a roundhouse kick to the bandit's face as he was getting up. The bandit flew over the railing into the river, leaving the other two to stare at him. What the hell is with this kid? Exclaimed one of the two. He just took out the boss and number 2 without taking a hit. In case you guys haven't realized it yet, Nanashi is stronger than normal 10-year-olds even by ninja standards. Screw it, said the other bandit. Charge. The remaining 2 bandits who were armed with spears rushed Nanashi in an attempt to impale, but the spears shattered when they collided with his jacket. The 2 just looked on in shock. Also, his jacket apparently doubles as sort of loose his heavy-duty armor. Alright, I'm going to make this clear, said Nanashi in a menacing voice. This bridge is now free. People are going to cross it and they will not pay anything. The 2 bandits gulped as he gave them a terrifying stare no 10-year-old should have. Whatever you say, kid, said a bandit backing up nervously. No need for any more violence. I don't get paid enough for this, I'm out of here. The 2 bandits threw their broken weapons away and took off at an amazing pace, with Nanashi watching with a big grin on his face. He turned and crossed the bridge. Where he's going, no one knows, not even him. Naruto. It's been days since he left Konoha, and as expected the Hokage sent out ninja after him. Naruto was near the border and just avoided the 10th search party. This is sucking so much right now, he thought. I know I said I didn't hate them, but this is just getting annoying. Just because I don't hate them doesn't mean I want to come back or that I'm not pissed at them. Probably should have left without a word. Naruto got up and ran for the border, just barely avoiding another Leaf Ninja squad. Luckily for him, his defect apparently keeps him from being sensed by chakra sensor types. He ran straight for 20 minutes on end. When he was far enough away, he slowed and started walking until the sun set. As the darkness set in, Naruto searched for a place to camp for the night, also something to eat, because in his escape he packed light, meaning the food he had ran out yesterday. That's when Naruto smelled something cooking. He followed it to an old run-down shrine illuminated by a campfire with a small skewered animal roasting over it. Usually he would check for enemies or traps, but he hasn't eaten anything the whole day, so he crept semi-cautiously towards the cooking meat he was about to grab when a swipe came down and Naruto jumped back just in time to avoid his arm getting cut off by a blade. "Who the hell are you?" said an angry kid's voice. Naruto looked at his attacker. He was boy around his age, wearing a green unbuttoned jacket with no shirt and had camouflaged pants, also some flat sandals, not shinobi styled. Like Kaminis's from Gurren Lagann, if you seen that show. And he was pointing some odd blade at him. Nanashi was pissed. Not only had he spent the better part of the day trying to get that squirrel, he comes back from taking leak to find some blonde-haired blue-eyed asshole trying to steal his food. "Alright, kid," said Nanashi in an annoyed tone. I don't get annoyed by too many things, but one of the things that do tick me off are people trying to steal my food. Sorry, I was hungry, said the kid. Well, so am I. Spent the whole afternoon chasing that chunk of meat around the woods, scolded Nanashi. But his features softened. Besides, you should head home. You don't seem the type for living off the land kind of person, he said, taking in the boy's appearance. He had a white shirt with a swirl symbol on the front and tan baggy cargo shorts. For some reason the kid's facial expression darkened and bowed his head so his blonde hair was covering his eyes. My home is not really a home for me, said the kid. What? Was Nanashi's intelligent response. My parents ignored me my whole life and only cared about my siblings. The kid yelled, his face snapping up and tears forming at his eyes. And all because I don't have chakra. Damn, you too? Said Nanashi. Naruto. Naruto looked at the kid, who has since lowered his blade, with an incredulous look. What do you mean by you too? He asked, confused. Did this kid have the same kind of family as him? I don't have chakra either, said the boy, with a friendly grin on his face, sheathing his blade. Wait, said Naruto, seriously? Yeah, I was born around a hidden village, not one of the great ones but one with a good-sized military. Anyways, when I was 5 a ninja from the village came to town and requested that he tested the children of the town for their chakra aptitude and ranked us on a 1 to 5. He paused and took a breath. When he checked me, I was discovered to have no chakra, and he had to announce it to the whole town too. So since they practically worship ninjas, I got treated as a freak of nature, and about 3 years ago they kicked me out. They kicked you out just because you didn't have chakra? Asked Naruto, surprised at how they seemed to spite him. Naruto just left of his own free will, but this guy was forced out. Well, that and I had a great deal of bad luck growing up, said Nanashi, still smiling. Damn, you too, said Naruto, smiling too. They stared at each other and broke into a laugh. I don't know what it is, but I'm starting to like you even though you tried to take my food, said the guy, gaining control of his laugh. Yeah, me too, said Naruto. Nanashi, said the kid. Asked Naruto. My name, it's Nanashi, he said. What about your last name? My first one doubles as a title, replied Nanashi. You know, I wanted to wait until later, said a female voice behind, but no is as good as time as ever. The boys turned to see a woman. She wore an elegant white kimono, had slim figure, also had shoulder-length snow-white hair flowing down freely to the middle of her back, a semi-pale complexion, and oddly she seemed to have light glow around her. She seemed to have a smile that emitted a calm aura over the area. All in all, she was beautiful. Naruto was about to ask who she was, but Nanashi beat him to it. Hey, lady, who the hell are you? Yelled Nanashi, pulling out his machete and pointing it at her while Naruto's sweat dropped at his antics. The lady still kept the warm smile even at the rude outburst. I am the goddess of fate. She said this with the same expression, but you can call me Fate. Oh, really? Said Nanashi. Okay then. He then sheathed his machete casually, throwing both Naruto and the goddess for a loop. You believe her? Me just like that? Naruto and the goddess yelled at Nanashi, shocked at his reaction to the situation. Hey, I've seen some pretty crazy things in my travels, defended Nanashi. Like this one time I met a zombie. He swore a lot and had obsession with killing people. Learned a lot of new words from that guy, Nanashi said, trailing off, remembering the odd encounter. Wait, are you here to punish me for that rant I did a few days ago? No, I'm not, said the goddess in a reassuring smile. I understand why you did it. You were angry. The Hyugas, the pale-eyed assholes? Asked Nanashi. Yes, they talk about me all the time because I'm the one who gave them their bloodlines, she explained with a groan. Worst mistake ever. Their bloodline? Asked Nanashi, still a little confused. The times when their faces scowl and veins bulge around their eyes, Fate explained with sigh. Another largely unknown fact about the Hyuga's Byakugan is that it allows them to contact her whenever they feel like it, which is major annoyance to the goddess. That's what that is, exclaimed Nanashi. I thought they were just constipated. At this, Fate broke into a laugh. Well, I knew you two would be unpredictable, said Fate, but to this extent. She pondered the status of the two 10-year-olds before her while trying to control her laughter. Wait a minute, what do you mean unpredictable? Asked Naruto, confused. If you're the goddess of fate, then shouldn't you know what's going to happen and when? That is why I'm here actually, stated the goddess, going back into serious mode. You two might want to pull up seat. The two boys nodded and went to find something to sit on. Damn it, yelled Nanashi all of a sudden, causing the two to look at him. My squirrel got overcooked, he said, face palming. Anyways, you were saying, turning to the goddess expectantly. Long ago, before chakra, you humans came into the world. Despite current beliefs, the gods did not make humanity, you just happened. No reason or explanation, humanity was just there. So in our attempt to have followers, we granted them what today is known chakra. Later we found out that several humans couldn't use chakra, but even so they were incredible warriors, but they seemed to have a great deal of misfortune around them. So we investigated, and to our surprise we had no control over them. I couldn't create destinies for them. The goddess of fortune couldn't bless them or curse them. Nor could the one you know as Yami corrupt them. Also, I don't think the Shinigami could take their souls to heaven or hell. I'm not sure, she doesn't talk that much. Also, chakra-related attacks couldn't harm them. The Shinigami is female too, thought the boys simultaneously. So you see, me and the other gods have noticed that you two fit the traits of these warriors. We have no say in your lives past or future. You lack chakra, which is a big giveaway. Also your unlucky streaks. The boys' sweat dropped at the last statement, thinking of all the times their misfortune got to them, usually being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, began Nanashi. You are saying that we are living FUs to everything considered natural in this day and age. The goddess looked at him, trying to make sense of his explanation, and then started chuckling. Yes. I suppose that is one way of putting it. Said Fate, still chuckling. Oh, you two are going to make my existence so much more interesting. The two looked at her confused. As I have told you, I'm the goddess of fate, and as blonde one over here pointed out, I know what's going to happen, and when they do. They nodded. Do you have any idea how boring that is to know everything turns out before it started it? It's like someone ruining the end of a movie. What about me? Asked Naruto, getting the conversation back on track. My family is considered to be the best ninja in the leaf, having high as hell chakra levels. Why do I have this condition? Hell is actually considered to be low, said Nanashi smartly with a smirk. You know what I meant, muttered Naruto, but loud enough to hear. We don't know, said Fate. It was a totally random event. It seems to be a natural human ability. But since we gave the other humans chakra, they can't use it. But you two born being without it seems to have awakened the latent ability. The goddess began to fade away. Looks like my time is up. The others will want to hear about this meeting. Wait, those warriors, what were they called? Asked Naruto. They didn't have a name, explained Fate, so we just called them the Forgotten. And so she returned to the realm of the gods, leaving to shocked boys at the rundown shrine. Well, that was one of my stranger interactions, said Nanashi, and then turned to look at Naruto. Hey, I never did catch your name. An odd look overcame Naruto as he thought on the answer. My name is Naruto Namikaze, Naruto said his last name grudgingly. And who could blame him? That name has caused him nothing but trouble, him being viewed as powerless by the whole village, making it worse by him being related to the strongest ninja of the village and seeing him as a blemish to in their eyes, demigod. Ain't that the last name of some big shot ninja? Asked Nanashi, looking at Naruto with a deadpan expression. Yeah, my FA. The fourth Hokage, replied Naruto, avoiding use of the word father. That guy sounds like an asshole, stated Nanashi, bluntly guessing why it was avoided. He kind of was, said Naruto with a small frown. Silence reigned over the two for a little while. Alright, if we are going to be traveling together, we are going to call ourselves something, like a team name. Nanashi said out of the blue. Wait, who said that we would travel together? Asked Naruto, a little taken aback at this sudden declaration. Didn't you listen to that glowing lady few minutes ago? We are the last of our kind, so we should stick together, cover each other's asses while we wander the world doing whatever the hell we want, said Nanashi, pumping a fist in the air. Besides, what else were you going to do? Naruto thought about it and realized he didn't have a plan. Alright, I see your point. Alright, said Nanashi, our team needs a name. How about Army of Two? Already taken, said Naruto. Riley's Rangers? Who's Riley? The Three Musketeers? Who's the third guy? Black Hand? That's a cult. Team Gurren? That's from an anime. It was a kick-ass anime, replied Nanashi. Naruto agreed while nodding his head. Alright, how about we call ourselves what Fate said we were, the Forgotten Warriors? Well, I guess I can live with that, said Naruto. Hey, kind of fits me. We should leave in the morn. Come on, let's get going, said Nanashi, probably ignoring everything Naruto said. We have the world face and I'm not waiting for it to come to me. He said this with a wide grin on his face. But it's still night out, protested Naruto. Like I said, I'm not waiting, said Nanashi. Naruto chuckled. You're crazy, aren't you? Probably, said Nanashi, still grinning. Now shut up and get moving. 4 years later, in Konoha, life went on as normal for the Namikaze family as they realized their runaway son didn't have that much of an impact in their lives. Though despite Naruto's last letter they spoiled Ryu in fear he would leave too. Though no proof was found that he was even planning it, they spoiled him regardless. Ryu has become arrogant due to this treatment, going past the levels of even the Uchiha family. When he entered the academy shortly after Naruto's leaving, the teachers also gave him special treatment due to being the Hokage's son, except for one Iruka Amino. Ryu graduated the academy as Rookie of the Year, doing even more to inflate his oversized ego. So you think you're ready for a C-rank mission? Said Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, as he eyed the Genin team. It consisted of his son Ryu Namikaze, who had short straight red hair with an identical face to his Sasuke Uchiha, who kept an even face while his hair resembled the shape of a duck butt. Hinata Hyuga, who repeatedly cast glances at Ryu and blushed. This team was being led by none other than Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, who came out of retirement to train her son's team. Sad, isn't it? You bet I do. I'm tired of the crappy D ranks you keep sending me on, yelled Ryu, clearly annoyed. I'm ready to go to the next level. Minato kept a straight face and turned to his wife. What do you think, Kushina? Asked Minato. Are they ready? Kushina nodded her head. Yes, they are all highly skilled and I believe this would be good experience for them. Though she said this, Kushina knew that there were people out there that could kill her team in seconds. Alright, luckily for you I have a C rank waiting for you, said Minato and turned to the door. You may come in now. A man stumbled in. He had raggy clothes and a sake bottle in one hand. This is Tazuna. He is a bridge builder from Wave. He has hired us to help protect him and his bridge while he completes it. This is a simple escort mission, but I think it's perfect for your first C rank. Do well on this and there will be more C ranks in the future. Ryu nodded. Alright, but I was hoping for someone of higher class. Oh yes, and your sisters will be joining you, said Minato, much to Ryu's shock. They told me they wanted to be with you on your first C rank, so think of it as a family vacation. What? I don't want them with me, yelled Ryu. We can do this on our own. Ryu, please be reasonable, said Kushina, trying to calm down her son. They promised not to interfere unless things got too dangerous. Fine, but I still don't like it. The team and the bridge builder left the room heading for the gates, leaving only Kushina and Minato in the room. Do you think he's still out there? Said Kushina quietly. Do you think he survived all these years? I hope so, dear, said Minato, also in a quiet voice. But he literally has no chakra. If he met even one enemy shinobi he'd be killed quickly. This brought tears to Kushina's eyes. Though she never really paid attention to Naruto, she still has her motherly instincts. Minato saw this and quickly corrected himself, but there is always a chance. Alright, I will keep a lookout and take care of Naruto while I'm gone, said Kushina, getting a hold of herself. As I forgot to mention earlier, Kushina and Minato had another girl after Naruto left. Her name is Naruko. She has blonde hair and for some odd reason born with whisker marks on her cheeks, just like Ryu after the sealing. Goodbye, honey. And with that she left. Meanwhile in Wave, on a misty bridge, a blonde-haired blue-eyed boy in a black combat jacket and matching cargo pants sneezed. Geez, I hope I'm not catching a cold. Maybe someone's talking about you, said his partner, a boy with a green bandana that always covered his brown hair. He had brown eyes and wore a green combat jacket and matching camouflaged cargo pants. Nah, no one would talk about me, replied the blonde boy. These two are Nanashi and Naruto. They have become strong, traveling the continent as mercenaries. But due to their young age they weren't taken seriously and work was scarce. This was true until they met the bridge builder, with who they are currently employed to guard the bridge while he gets shinobi help. I'm probably just coming down with something. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, who would care about two forgotten warriors traveling the continent searching for jobs, replied Nanashi solemnly, but then brightened up. Oh hey, Tazuna's getting back today. Oh yeah, replied Naruto. You should get him. You lazy bastard. Why me? Protested Nanashi. Because you're more combat-oriented than me, replied Naruto. Besides, he said he was going to Konoha. I don't want some leaf nin recognizing me and dragging me off. Come on, why would they recognize you? Said Nanashi in a carefree manner. "Oh, I don't know," replied Naruto casually, but then yelled, "Maybe because I look like a carbon copy of the fourth." Alright, geez," said Nanashi in a grumpy mood and walked off to where Tazuna was going to land. Forest in wave. "So Tazuna-san, why were you okay with just a genin team?" asked Yoko walking next to the bridge builder. She is currently ranked Chunin along with her sister, and they both wore the standard shinobi gear. "I mean, you said that there was a great deal of bandits making raids on the bridge," she asked curiously. "Oh, well, the truth is I already have a pair of mercenaries guarding the bridge," said Tazuna with a small grin. "Mercenaries?" asked Natsumi walking on the other side of Tazuna. "Yep," he replied, "strange ones too. They're kids no older than you two." A shocked look came across the girls' faces. But despite their age, they're incredibly good fighters and have beaten back every bandit that has tried to take the bridge. They even beat back a mob of about 30 of them with their bare hands. "Are they shinobi?" asked Yoko, completely stunned and interested. "No, I don't think so. They don't have a village symbol," replied Tazuna. "But I'm not complaining. They're pretty skilled and work for half what you ninjas charge." He laughed, remembering the antics those two did. "Can you describe them for us?" asked Natsumi, curious to the identities of the two mysterious warriors. "No, sorry, they asked to have their names and group name hidden from shinobi unless it was for a business opportunity," explained Tazuna. "I guess they must have raised hell somewhere." He gazed off, wondering about the boys protecting his bridge. "To the left," yelled Ryu, startling everyone as he threw a kunai into the bush. But when they went to check, all they saw was a white rabbit stunned at its near-death experience. "Ah, Ryu-kun, you almost killed that poor rabbit," exclaimed Hinata, who quickly went to pick it up and started to cuddle it. "That's odd," thought Kushina, examining the situation. "That rabbit is white. It's not common for this kind of season or region. Then that means substitution. Everyone get down," she yelled as large sword came after them that resembled a large cleaver. The shinobi all ducked while the rabbit jumped away from Hinata. But Tazuna was a bit slow. As the blade flew at him, he closed his eyes waiting for the pain. But it never came. Instead, he heard a metal grinding against metal. He opened his eyes to find a teenager wearing a green bandana and jacket blocking the sword with an odd blade of his own. "Geez, Tazuna," said the teen as he swatted the oversized sword away, impaling itself in the ground off to the side. "I know you hired people to protect you, but you at least have to know to duck at times like these." "Nanashi," said Tazuna breathlessly, recognizing the person who just saved his life. The boy just smirked and turned to a tree branch. "All right. No brows," he yelled, pointing to a Miansing figure who was standing on the branch. "It's a Forgotten Warrior mercenary company policy that if you attempt to hurt our employer, we hurt your everything." "Is that an actual rule?" asked Tazuna. Nanashi shrugged. "Is now," he said plainly, despite the threatening figure in the trees. "Well, very impressive, you little punk. I didn't even sense you coming," said the eyebrowless man, jumping down, revealing he was also shirtless and had bandages covering the bottom part of his head. "My name is Zabuza Momochi, Demon of the Bloody Mist," he said with slight bow as he retrieved his sword, earning a gasp from the experienced shinobi who were just getting up and recognizing the name. Nanashi, however, "I don't care if you're of the Walking Dead mist," replied Nanashi. "You tried to kill my employer and he hasn't paid me yet." Everyone's sweat dropped at his explanation. "I can sympathize with that," said Zabuza nonchalantly. "Can't have your meal ticket dying on you." The fellow hired warriors looked at each other, nodded. Everyone watching the conversation thought that this could be solved peacefully, only to have that idea thrown out. "So we gonna start or what?" asked Nanashi, eager for the fight. "Thought you'd never ask," said Zabuza, smirking under his mask. The two charged at each other with their blades colliding. Nanashi attacked with some quick strikes at his torso, which he blocked using his zanbatu. "That's what it is, right, as a shield." Zabuza pushed Nanashi back and tried to vertically cleave him in two, which he dodged to the side, jumped and kneed Zabuza in the face, making him stumble. "Well, kid, you ain't too bad. Looks like I'll have to step up my game." Water release. Water dragon bullet. A large dragon made of water came from the lake. Crab jutsu. High-powered, destructive jutsu, thought Nanashi, and Tazuna is right behind me. Man, I wanted to keep this ability hidden from the ninja world a little while longer. Instead of dodging, Nanashi faced it head-on, putting one of his hands out. "Are you crazy?" yelled Yoko behind him. "Get out of there." But it was too late as the dragon crashed into him. Though to everyone's the jutsu stopped mid-sequence and dispelled. Standing in the impact zone was Nanashi with a wise smirk on his face. "Damn," he said with his smirk, "I really did not want to have to pull this out, especially in front of ninjas." Nanashi just stood there with smirk while everyone was looking at him with shocked expression. "What the hell is this guy?" were the collective thoughts of the ninja. "Well, I guess we're playing on my terms," said Nanashi, readying his tanto machetes. "Let's just see how good one of the 7 deadly swordsmen of the mist really are." With that, Nanashi rushed Zabuza, who Jut barely managed to get his sword up in defense as Nanashi struck with ferocious yet skilled attacks. "This boy," thought Zabuza, "has attempted to defend, getting some scratches on his arm's outer chest area. What is he?" Zabuza then broke Nanashi's attack, making him jump backwards. Zabuza then swung horizontally, which Nanashi jumped over. Then he went for some attacks, all of which Nanashi dodged using some impressive agility. Nanashi squatted as the large sword flew over his head. He then jumped and did roundhouse kick to Zabuza's face. Zabuza flew a few feet over but regained himself and glared at Nanashi. "Roadhouse," said Nanashi, striking a stance with a plain expression on his face. "Kid, you are seriously starting to irritate me." Water clone jutsu. 4 Zabuzas rose from the lake as the original retreated back to the lake using his water walking technique. The 4 clones surrounded Nanashi as the original Zabuza went through some complex hand signs. Water release. Great waterfall technique. A large pillar of water rose into the sky as the clones simultaneously attacked. All 5 attacks converged on Nanashi, causing one big splash. When it ended, there was nothing left. "Figures," scoffed Ryu with an arrogant smirk on his face. "No low-ranked mercenary could ever face an S-class missing nin, but me on the other hand will defeat this guy." "Hey, jackass," came voice from the air. When they looked up, they saw Nanashi at an amazing height. "It's time to end this." Nanashi then took out several throwing knives, 3 in each hand, held between the fingers, and threw it at Zabuza, hitting him in the legs, torso and arms, causing him to fall over backwards. Regardless, Zabuza got back up only for a senbon to come and strike him in the neck, putting him out of commission. "I thank you for holding him until he could be subdued," spoke a ninja in porcelain mask. She had long black hair and wore baggy clothes. "I will take him from here. The village of Kiri thanks you." "Wait," said Nanashi, who landed a few minutes ago. "Can I have my knives back? Me and my partner are running on limited supplies until we get this job done." He held out his hand as the hunter ninja pulled the projectiles out of the body and brought it over to him. "Thank you," he said, putting the knives away, but suddenly swung one of his machetes at the hunter nin, who jumped back. "What the hell are you doing?" yelled Ryu indignantly. "Seriously, you thought you could fool me?" yelled Nanashi. "You and me both know you're no hunter nin." The ninja jumped back, grabbed Zabuza's body and vanished. "That is going to come back to bite me in the ass." He deadpanned and turned to the ninja who were watching him intently. He studied the group. 4 redheads, a duck, but an "Oh crap, there's a Hyuga here? This job is going to suck now." The group just stared at him while Hinata looked a little offended. "Why do you dislike the Hyuga?" asked Hinata. "We are one of the most polite clans in Konoha." "Are you kidding?" asked Nanashi sarcastically. "The Hyuga are bunch arrogant closet perverts that are proud of themselves because of some messed up eye infection. Just like the Uchiha." He said the last part with a smirk, causing Sasuke to glare at him. "Wait, what do you mean closet perverts?" asked Natsumi, glancing at Hinata cautiously. "Seriously?" asked Nanashi. "Someone needs to know their neighbors better?" "Well, you know what the Byakugan does, right?" Natsumi and Yoko nodded. "It lets them see everything." Sudden realization of where the young merc was going with this. "And how often do you see one of them standing around a hot spring with their Byakugan activated?" said Nanashi. Natsumi and Yoko both fumed at the revelation and glared at Hinata because of her being the closest Hyuga around, which made her uncomfortable, noted by the way she shuffled her feet. Kushina's sweat dropped at her daughters and turned to Nanashi. "There's something still bugging me though," started Kushina, gathering everyone's attention. "How did you stop the water dragon bullet?" "Well, no use in hiding this anymore," said Nanashi with a sigh. "I have a rare condition. I don't have any chakra in my body since the day I was—" This gathered shocked looks from the Namakazes, making them think of their missing family member. "But this also acts as double-bladed sword. While I can't have chakra, chakra-based attacks can't affect me." Everyone looked at him in disbelief. So technically I am living FU to all the beliefs and theories you have on chakra, he said, grinning while scratching the back of his head. If he doesn't have chakra, maybe he knows Naruto, thought Kushina hopefully, while the other Namikaze thought similarly while Ryu didn't care. Have you met anyone named Naruto? Nanashi became wary at the question about his partner but kept an outward grin. Possibly, he replied. Why do you want to know? We are his family, the Namikazes, and we miss him, she explained. He ran away 4 years ago due to an unknown reasons. She didn't tell him the truth because she thought he might sympathize with her prodigal son. Bullshit, thought Nanashi inwardly but kept his grinning facade up. Let me ask my partner, maybe he met him at some point. Nanashi remembers what Naruto told him about his so-called family, and honestly he does like it one bit, because he grew up without one while Naruto had one, but it was like he wasn't even there. Nanashi put his finger to his long-range radio earpiece that they acquired from some IWA nin a while back. Hey, partner, said Nanashi. Nanashi? What's taking so long? Asked Naruto from the other end. Oh, I just ran into a missing nin harassing our client, no big deal, explained Nanashi. He just faced an S-rank ninja and calls it no big deal, thought the ninja collectively with sweat drops. Well listen, continued Nanashi. Have you heard of anyone named Naruto Namikaze? Nanashi, sighed Naruto. What the hell are you talking about? Oh well, I thought that you'd be interested to know that the Namikaze clan is here looking for the lost son, and I thought you might know if they could find him, said Nanashi, startling Naruto on the other side. Shit, my family is here, said Naruto. Silence came over the radio as Naruto thought of what to do. Damn it. Well, I had to deal with this sooner or later. Tell them I know where their son is and bring them to the bridge. Are you sure? Asked Nanashi. Yes, said Naruto with heavy voice and hung up. Nanashi turned to the waiting shinobi. Alright. Listen up, he said. Those of you who want to know where their prodigal family member is, follow me. Kushina turned to Ryu's team. Ryu, make sure Tazuna reaches his house, said Kushina. Me and the girls will go with, sorry, what was your name? Don't have one, sated Nanashi with an inexplicable sense of pride, so call me Nanashi. Now if you would hurry up, I believe my partner knows about something you want. They nodded and he took off with the kunoichi in tow. Naruto was at the bridge thinking about how to deal with the upcoming situation. Well, this was going to happen sooner or later, he thought solemnly. But I need to set things straight. If they've been searching for me these last 4 years, I need to make things undeniably clear to them. Alright buddy, said Nanashi. We're nearing the bridge, I hope you're ready for this. Yeah, replied Naruto. Me too. He saw Nanashi walking up the bridge with 4 female figures in tow. Hey, looks like Kushina came out of retirement while I was away, he thought with a small smirk. This going to be a fun conversation. Sarcasm is fun, isn't it? Alright, Naruto, yelled Nanashi. I brought your family for your reunion. The females present glared at Nanashi. Your partner was Naruto whole time? They yelled simultaneously. Yep, said Nanashi with his near-constant grin. I'm a bastard, aren't I? Leave my partner alone, said Naruto, who is the more serious of the two. Naruto got cut off as he got glomped by his former family members who had tears in their eyes. Where have you been? Said Kushina, sobbing. We've been looking for you the past 4 years, she said in between sobs while his sisters were also crying. Holy shit, they care, thought Naruto, surprised. But I'm not going back. These last 4 years have been better than the first 10 years of my life. Now that we found you, you can come back, be a family and meet your baby sister, said Kushina. I have a baby sister? Asked Naruto. You have another sibling, exclaimed Nanashi. So wait. If those two are your sisters and if that red-headed spoiled brat back there was your brother. Ryu's here too, yelled Naruto. And then there's you and your baby sister. Nanashi thought about this for a little bit. Does the 4th Hokage even attempt to use a condom? He exclaimed shamelessly while the Namikazes, including Naruto, blushed at his outburst, breaking the hug. Oh yeah, Naruto the missing nin, I thought it happens to be Zabuza. Even after traveling with him for 4 years he still manages to catch me off guard, Naruto thought. Really? Didn't Mei want us to send that guy and Kisame home? He asked calmly. Oh shit, yelled Nanashi. I totally forgot about that. You idiot, scolded Naruto. Ah, he'll be fine, said Nanashi casually. The 7 swordsmen of the mist are a bunch tough bastards. I'm sure you'll recover from the throwing knives. Kushina was getting irritated that they forgot about the main topic. Boys, can we focus here? Asked Kushina, getting a tick mark on her head. Right, said Naruto and turned to his family. I need to make this perfectly clear. I am not coming back to the family. He stated plainly, shocking the female Namakazes. But don't you want to be family again? Asked Kushina. Since when have we been family? He asked calmly. This guy, he gestures to Nanashi, has been more of a family to me in the last 4 years than you have in 10 I lived with you. The small amount of emotion he spoke these words with stunned the Namikaze females. But it got through their heads that Naruto won't be coming back anytime soon, if at all, but we will come to Konoha after this mission to set things straight with Minato. He turned to Nanashi. Do you have any problems with this? I don't have anything planned, said Nanashi with his smile. The trip to Tsunasa's house was in silence. The females of the Namikaze clan were depressed that their brother didn't really want anything to do with them. The last comment he said that showed emotion was hurtful. Even though I don't hate you, I am pretty damn pissed. And that boy Nanashi, just who is he? These thoughts resonated in the minds of the girls as they walked to Tsunasa's. When they got to the house, they found the genin outside waiting. Did we find out where the loser is? Asked Ryu. I'm right here, jackass, said Naruto in a calm but irritated voice. Ryu looked at him, an arrogant smirk formed on his face. Well, haven't seen you for a while, said Ryu. What's wrong? The world too scary for you? Me? No, replied Naruto in an even voice. You on the other hand, well, you're probably going to piss yourself if you haven't already. This brought a laugh from Nanashi. Oh yeah, like what? Asked Ryu, not believing him. Let's just say Orochimaru has some pretty messed up stuff walking around Oto territory. Kushina shuddered, remembering the things the snake Sannin was discovered experimenting with. Like what? Asked Ryu, still not believing. Well, let's just say there is freak out there that lurks in the shadows. Me and Nanashi only saw it once, but that was like looking into a nightmare. It wasn't until we raided his research station that we found out what it's for. Ryu looked a little scared. What does it do? He asked, shaking. It was made for absorbing a certain type of ninja. You want to know what? Continued Naruto as Ryu was now shaking, listening to his story. It was made for absorbing Jinchuriki? Huh? Exclaimed the whole group, also looking scared. But the worst part is I think it smelled Ryus's scent on me and followed us here. Ryu looked around nervously. Wait. There it is. Naruto yelled, quickly pointing behind Ryu, making the Jinchuriki scream in a high-pitched voice and jump into a tree. Bawa ha ha. Nanashi was currently laughing his ass off at Ryu's expression. Oh man, I can't believe he fell for that. He continued laughing while Naruto chuckled a bit. Wait, so there is no Jinchuriki eating monster? Asked Yoko, feeling a little at ease. Oh, there is, or well is going to be, explained Naruto, a small smile on his face, while the group went back to scared mode with, we found information for it in a lab we raided for a job in a file labeled, in progress. Ryu finally came out his tree with a reddish face and an annoyed look at the news, but all of a sudden Nanashi started laughing his ass off again. Nanashi, why you still laughing? Asked Naruto, studying Nanashi, who was now rolling on the floor. Joke's over. Look at his pants, he said in between laughs. As everyone looked, there was a wet part on Ryus's pants around his crotch area. The little bastard pissed himself. By this time Ryu was blushing in rage and embarrassment as Naruto began laughing too. Even the twins and Genin were trying to stifle laughter. Alright, you failure, said Ryu, shaking in rage. I challenge you to a fight. Winner has to do what the loser says. This brought the group into a stunned silence. Fine, I need someone to blow steam off on, said Naruto, cracking his fist for emphasis, intimidating his little brother until said person remembered he was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I'll beat you to a pulp, said Ryu with an arrogant smirk. Don't want to change your pants? Asked Naruto with a slight smirk of his own. Ryu blushed, gave a scowl and rushed inside. A few minutes later he came back out with clean pants and they went to the backyard, which happened to be a wide flat open area in the forest. Kushina volunteered to be the referee for the battle. Okay, she said, not liking the idea her only sons were at each other's throats. There will be no killing and the match is over when I say it is or one of you is unconscious. 3, 2, 1 go. And the two charged at each other on the sidelines. Nanashi was talking to the other Leaf Genin. So I got 10 Ryo. Naruto wins. Anybody want in? Said Nanashi in a casual manner, looking at everyone around him. I bet 10 Ryo on Ryu-kun. said Hinata, probably only going to use suffixes in Hinata's dialogue. Alright, got one in, said Nanashi. How about you, duck butt? Referring to Sasuke, who grumbled at the comment. Fine, 10 for Ryu, said Sasuke, obviously annoyed by Nanashi. Alright, this will be the easiest 20 I ever made, stated Nanashi, grinning widely, and turned to the match where Naruto and his brother were currently in what seemed to be an even match. Alright Naruto. I got 2 suckers to bet against you, time to kick his ass. Roger that, said Naruto. He then began to pick up speed, his strikes becoming quicker and stronger, and Ryu was struggling to keep up. Naruto sent punch to Ryu's unprotected stomach, making slide back. Damn you! He yelled out, infuriated. Take some of this. Ryu then began to go through complex hand seals at an amazing rate, but it wasn't fast enough as Naruto charged at him, appearing in front of him in the blink of an eye, delivering the right hook to his face, making him fly in the air and be punched to the ground via Naruto's fist to his gut, knocking him out. Well, that settles that, said Naruto in a semi-satisfied voice, and walked back to the stunned group. Pay up, bitches, said Nanashi in his wide grin. The other 2 genin grumbled as they handed Nanashi his winnings. Where did you learn to fight like that? Asked Kushina, surprised at her ex-son's combat capabilities. Nanashi and Naruto looked at each other and shrugged. In Kiri, they said simultaneously, earning gasps and more shocks from around the Konoha nin. What? Why were you in Kiri? Kushina asked in concern. Well, 4 years ago, after I found Naruto trying to steal my food, began Nanashi. You're never going to let that go, are you? Muttered Naruto. Nope, replied Nanashi. Anyways, we had a little otherworldly experience involving the goddess of fate. The conscious team members looked at him in disbelief. Well, anyways, after that we started traveling together and ended up in the middle of Kiri's civil war. He paused. Me and Naruto threw our lot in with the rebels, and after a year of brutal fighting we were involved in the assassination of Hanzo, which ended the war and gave the rebels control of the village. That took 2 years. He took a moment to let it sink in. Yeah, nothing like learning by doing. Pretty much everything we know about fighting we developed on the battlefield, put in Naruto in an even voice. Made a lot of friends there, said Nanashi in a thoughtful tone. Lost a lot too. Nanashi's face took a solemn look. Lost too many friends. Kushina understands how he felt due to her fighting in the Third Shinobi War. She lost people she considered friends on the battlefield. The only difference were that these 2 were a lot younger than she was. Well, at least our remaining comrades are happy, said Nanashi, his grin coming back. So anyways, that's basically how we learned to fight. You fought in a war, yelled Natsumi. But you were only 10, you would only be halfway through the academy, plus you didn't have any chakra. Still don't, said Naruto, going into a clam serious mood, but as you can see that does little to stop us, actually it benefits us. Like how your partner stopped an A-rank jutsu with his hands? Asked Yoko. Naruto glared at Nanashi after she said this. I told to keep that hidden from ninja, scolded Naruto. Hey, it was a giant water dragon. Tazuna was right behind, so I couldn't dodge. Do you think I wanted to do that? Defended Nanashi. Besides, you should have seen the looks on their faces. He chuckled while gesturing to the surrounding ninja. Fine, cat's out bag now, relented Naruto with a sigh. Well, at least they can't do anything with that. What are you talking about? That should make it easier to defeat you, said Sasuke. Well, let's see, ninjutsu doesn't affect us, same goes for bloodlines, and we haven't tested this out yet, but we're pretty sure genjutsu can't do anything either, said Naruto. You're going to have to take us hand to hand, but I'm pretty sure Nanashi showed us just how good we are when he fought Zabuza. You kidding, said Nanashi. I didn't even use half strength or take my jacket off. Really? Asked Naruto, interested. Yeah, apparently the 7 swordsmen of the mist aren't all they're cracked up to be, said Nanashi casually. Wait a minute, said Hinata, remembering something. You said that you talked with the goddess of fate? Yeah, huh, replied Nanashi as if it was totally normal thing. But she only shows herself to the Hyuga. She complained. Why would the goddess of fate show herself to some common mercenary? Because I'm tired of arrogant Hyuga leaders priding themselves on gift they are unworthy of having, said a feminine voice. Everyone turned and saw a beautiful woman with white mid-back length hair in a white kimono along with an elegant face. The male shinobi present were blushing at her, while Hinata looked shocked. Hey, Fate, said Naruto and Nanashi in a casual manner. Hello boys. Fate said in a friendly manner toward the two mercs before pulling both of them hug. The surrounding shinobi were shocked. No one sensed her appear and the mercenaries were interacting with her like she was a friend, an incredibly familiar friend. "So Fate, it's been a month since we last saw you. How have you been?" asked Naruto. "Oh, I've been just fine. Me and the other gods have been enjoying your adventures. It's like watching movie," she said cheerfully. Excuse me," said Kushina, confused by the woman's presence. "Naruto, just who exactly is she and why do you keep calling her Fate?" "Because that's who I am," said Fate. "I am the goddess of fate, the weaver of prophecies and the decider of destinies." Kushina was about to introduce her group, a little skeptical about her. "Oh, I know who you are," she said with a bit of venom in her voice. "And I am not happy with how treated your son over there." "Wait, if you're the goddess of fate, then that means you're responsible for what we did to him," protested Kushina. "Actually, I can't control these two, none of the gods can," said Fate, shrugging. "What?" yelled everybody who was conscious. "If they were affected by our laws of this world, they wouldn't even exist," said Fate, crossing her arms. "In other words, nothing can control these two unless they want to be controlled." The boys beamed at this. "Why are you here anyways?" asked Yoko, having a hard time believing. "I would think the so-called goddess of fate wouldn't waste time talking to low-class mercenaries." "Hey," protested Nanashi. "At least I'm not from some high-up clan that have their head up their asses." "Didn't you just insult Naruto too?" put in Natsumi, slightly ticked. "Like I said 4 years ago, I don't consider myself part of the family," said Naruto, much to the distress of the Namikaze members. "Alright, that's it," yelled Fate, gaining everyone's attention. "Okay, if you want proof that I'm Fate, then I'll show you." Fate held out her hand and scroll and pen appeared in it. She opened it and scribbled something down, rolled it up and vanished. "So you think some disappearing act will impress us ninjas can do that with seals?" scoffed Kushina. "Sight, human stupidity never ceases to annoy me," said Fate, annoyed. "In 30 seconds all ninja in the yard will fly head first into that tree." She pointed at a large tree. The shinobi present didn't believe her. That is, until all 5 of them levitated off the ground, flew head first into the designated tree. "Why, you really are the goddess of fate," stammered Hinata. She then jumped and prostrated. "That's what it's called, right?" Japanese version of bowing down herself in front of fate. "Hinata, what are doing?" asked Yoko, rubbing her head in pain. "The Hyuga owe our bloodline to her. Without her we'd be nothing," explained Hinata. "Yes," confirmed Fate. "And that was the worst mistake of my existence, just because one of you actually did something worthwhile with his life." Never mind, you Hyuga make me sick. You expect me to drag you through your lives. The only other Hyuga worthy of my gift was Hiyashi. He actually took matters into his own hand and chose when to die." "You don't choose when people die?" asked Nanashi, curious. "Did not know that." "Well, I set a certain date for when someone kicks the bucket. That's when they die of natural causes or whatever disease I gave them." Fate had a creepy smile when she said this. "Basically, suicide or self-sacrifice is the only way to change this." She chuckled a little. "You have a creepy sense of humor," deadpanned Nanashi. "Anyways, why are you here? You usually come to us when you're trying to escape the Hyuga." Hyuga gave a cry of distress at this. "Right," said Fate, going back to her usual self. "Well, I remembered something about the original Forgotten Warriors." This piqued both boys' interest. "Follow me, I'd prefer we'd talk about this in private." They began to leave, but Fate turned. "Oh, and if I find any of you eavesdropping, I'll make the remainder of your lives a living hell, which is actually scheduled to end by the time your mission is over." This drove everyone into a wild panic. "Just kidding." Everyone relaxed but was still a little shaken. "Once again," stated Nanashi, walking away. "Creepy sense of humor." They walked over into the foliage. After a few minutes of walking they came to clearing. "So what do you want to tell us?" "I am not looking forward to this," said Fate, turning around, her voice somber. "Well, me and the other gods decided to tell you what happened to the original Forgotten." Both boys looked at her in interest. "Alright, listen, this is another mistake the gods made." She paused. "The gods felt threatened by Forgotten, so we sent our followers after them." The boys looked at her shocked. "What we thought would have been a quick battle turned into a long, bloody battle. Your people numbered in the hundreds, or followers were billions." She sighed again and put her hand over her face. "We were unaware of the human capacity for war. The battle took place in what is now the wasteland." She began crying. "Listen, we regret what we did to your people. We were young by our standards and foolish." The boys were stunned. Fate thought that they would hate her now. That was humanity's first war and its most brutal. The death toll was higher than all three of the Shinobi wars combined. The boys looked at her with an incredulous look. Okay then, said Nanashi shrugging casually. That answers a few questions. Yep, said Naruto in similar manner. Thanks for explaining that to us. Wait, said Fate, now her turn to be stunned. You don't hate me for this? Nanashi and Naruto looked at each other. Not really, they said simultaneously, shocking Fate even more. But we destroyed your people, said Fate, not believing anyone could be so forgiving. Okay, listen, said trying to put logic into this. We were born without our people. To us they were already destroyed. What good will it do to take revenge for people dead thousands of years ago? Who would do something like that? Naruto glanced over at Nanashi. Okay, maybe Nanashi would, but he's crazy. Nanashi nodded. The only reason I haven't, said Nanashi, is because I consider you one of my few friends. Fate was stunned beyond belief. Two humans that should hate her consider her a friend. She felt tears of joy coming to her face and once again pulled them into a hug. Reactions are as follows. What is it with this lady and hugs? Thought Nanashi, stiffening at the hug, not exactly used to affection. She seriously cares this much about us. Well, that's a first for anyone, thought Naruto, easing into it. So this battle took place in one area nobody would dare venture. The God-forsaken wasteland. It is actually quite literally God-forsaken, informed Fate, letting go of the two. Like with you, that place is out of our influence. We think that's because the Forgotten had a base there for so long that their influence stayed there. A pause happened as the two took in the info. Right then, who wants to play cards? Said Nanashi's, pulling out a deck. Naruto and Fate smiled as the goddess made a table appear and the trio talked about their adventures and what went through their heads as they made their choices. It has been several days since Fate came to visit and relations between the ninja and the mercenaries got worse. Kushina tried to pay Nanashi to force Naruto to come back to Konoha, to which the following conversation applies. No, replied Nanashi with an annoyed look on his face. What, why not? Asked Kushina, taken aback by his instant response. Yoko and Natsumi having similar expressions. 2 reasons, replied Nanashi, holding up 2 fingers. One is a rule of the Forgotten, in that a forgotten mercenary will not sell out a comrade in arms. And 2, I don't feel like working for a village whose leader swings his dildo around because he killed 10,000 people. Kushina and the girls blushed at Nanashi's vulgar expression. Who the hell worships someone like that? It's like worshipping a mass murderer. That's my husband you're talking about, yelled Kushina, trying to defend Minato. He is also not a mass murderer, the sisters also glaring at him, but he was undaunted. So I am just speaking my mind, and don't think I don't know about you. Your Konoha's red. Kushina thought she knew what was coming and had a sense of pride from her reputation. Hot-blooded habanero. He finished this with a smirk, while Kushina became enraged at this. You little punk, how do you even know that name? Yelled Kushina, trying to get at Nanashi while the girls held her back. Nanashi walked away with a smirk on his face to find Naruto behind the corner of the house listening in on the conversation. Where the hell did you even learn that name? Said Naruto in an even tone, studying his companion. I don't think I've ever told you about that before. Well, it was a little while before I met you, said Nanashi, recalling a memory. I met a missing Konoha nin who was drunk on his way to AIM. He kept muttering something about Kushina Uzumaki and Hanbenro, so I put 2 and 2 together. You realized she beat people to near death for that, warned Naruto. No, said Nanashi, looking back at the 3 shinobi with a still enraged Kushina being held back, but I can believe that. Anyways, said Naruto, it's time to guard bridge. Let's roll, said Nanashi as they began to walk toward the construction site. They got to the bridge a few minutes later and the workers greeted them in a friendly manner, mainly for all the effort the boys put up in defending the bridge. All of a sudden mist began to roll in, shrouding the surrounding area, and a low chuckling could be heard from the shroud. Well, I finally found you, y'all little punk. I have some payback I need to give you. Nanashi instantly recognized the voice. Oh yeah, well, bring it on, you eyebrow-less freak. Nanashi retorted and turned to the workers. You guys should run now. The workers, already freaked out by the threatening disembodied voice, fled instantly. Well, gets this started. Nanashi was about to rush headlong into the mist, but Naruto grabbed his collar and pulled him to the ground. Wait, said Naruto, a serious look on his face. We have a promise to keep. Can't we fight a little first? Asked Nanashi. Naruto shook his head in response. Damn it. Fine. He turned to the mist. Hey no brows, you know someone by the name of Mei Terumi? Depends, came the interested voice of Zabuza. Back at the house, Yoko and Natsumi were in the kitchen in silence, their thoughts turning to a certain no-name merc traveling with his brother. I don't get it, yelled Natsumi abruptly. What is with that guy? He has no chakra, but he has the stupidity to say the H word to mom's face. Remember, he did go toe-to-toe with Zabuza of the Bloody Mist, replied Yoko calmly. So I doubt he would show fear in the face of mother. He just hasn't seen her truly angry. Even dad cowers in fear of that. Natsumi sighed. Geez, the guy is a moron. Don't call my bro a moron, said a young boy crossing the hall with his mother. He's strong enough to face anyone. Inari, don't be rude, said his mother Tsunami. Your bro? Asked Yoko confused. He means Nanashi, explained Tsunami. You see, Gato killed someone who Inari saw as a father. He was depressed for quite a while, but when those two came after a rough start, Inari came to see Nanashi as a brother. She sighed. They had a very odd bonding experience. Flashback. Inari was in the backyard brooding. Stupid idiots, they'll both die eventually. He was so lost on his brooding he didn't even notice a green-clad machete-wielding merc come up behind him. You dumbass, yelled Nanashi, making Inari jump. You lost someone and you're sad, right? Well, do you really think that person would want you depressed your entire life? You need to get out of your funk and get your fight back. It wouldn't matter, Gato would kill anyone going against him, replied Inari glumly. And that's why you stand up and fight back, countered Nanashi. You just need to get your battle cry back. My battle cry? Asked Inari confused. Write a yell so powerful that your enemies will shake with fear. Like so. Nanashi inhaled a large amount of air. Gog. Inari looked at him as if he were crazy. Don't just sit there looking like an idiot, you do it too. G-A-G-H-H-H-H-H-H. G-A-G-H-H-H-H-H-H, repeated Inari. Now you're getting it, said Nanashi with a smirk. G-A-G-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. G-A-G-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. G-A-G-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. Flashback end. Yoko and Natsumi both had sweat drops on their heads from listening to that. Is that guy some sort of nut job? Thought Natsumi. He is a strange one, thought Yoko with a perplexed look. Ha, 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 I remember that day. That was the day Inari got his smile back, said Tazuna, walking down laughing. All of the sudden there was a frantic knocking at the door. Tazuna went open it and found some his workers panting frantically. Boss, we have a problem, said a worker panicked. That assassin that tried to kill you earlier this week is back. The boys are holding them back. Kushina, overhearing the conversation, rushed out of the house, the twins close behind. Though why they are worried about them is anyone's guess. Later at the bridge they were walking through some dense mist. This odd, said Yoko. Yeah, said Natsumi. It's too quiet. I hope Naruto is okay. I'm sure he's fine, replied Kushina, more to reassure herself. But if Zabuza got the drop on him with his technique, said Natsumi, worried. That's when they heard a laugh coming from farther ahead. They each pulled out a kunai and rushed forward. The laughing continued up until they saw an odd sight. Okay then, I said, if you want us to believe you, then pull your thing out of his ass. Nanashi apparently finished up a story, then he and Zabuza burst out laughing. Naruto had a slight smirk at the story while Zabuza's apprentice looked on behind his mask. They were all sitting around a fire playing a card game while fish cooked over the fire. Wow, I always knew that person was a little off, but I never realized it would go that far, commented Zabuza, chuckling a bit. What's going on here? Said Natsumi, shocked to find an S-rank assassin sitting around a campfire with her brother and his friend. We're talking about a mutual contractor who was somewhat off, explained Zabuza. Yeah, agreed Nanashi. That person was freakishly strange, paid well though. Agreed, said Zabuza. But this is our enemy, yelled Natsumi, and you're just sitting around campfire laughing with him. Was our enemy, corrected Naruto, his smirk disappearing. The main reason I became a Rouge Nin was to finance a revolution in the mist, explained Zabuza. but since these two took care of it I don't really need to finish this job now, die? He then turned to Nanashi. I have 5 aces by the way, he said, putting his cards down showing 5 aces. What? Exclaimed Nanashi, shocked. You bastard. But then a smirk came to his face. But I have 6 aces. Putting his cards down for proof, Zabuza looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Pay up. They're not playing by the rules anymore, are they? Said Zabuza's apprentice, turning to Naruto. I don't think they ever were, replied Naruto, face palming as Zabuza handed Nanashi a medium-sized bag of money. The Leaf Shinobi just looked on in stunned silence. I can't believe you're playing cards with this guy, complained Natsumi. He almost killed us. Actually, I almost killed him, stated Nanashi with a smirk on his face. Zabuza glared at him. You want a piece of me, boy? Said Zabuza menacingly. Bring it on, retorted Nanashi defiantly, and they both put blades to each other's neck. Zabuza and Nanashi had intense glaring contest. Those looking on prepared for a big fight to happen, but the two broke out laughing. I have to admit you have some major balls, kid, complimented Zabuza. Thanks, said Nanashi, chuckling. What just happened? Asked Kushina, confused along with the rest of the shinobi, while Nanashi and Zabuza shrugged. It's a mercenary thing, they replied simultaneously. Anyways, why are you here? Said Naruto in annoyed tone. We thought you were in trouble. Nanashi and Naruto looked at them confused. Why? There's an S-rank assassin sitting right next to you and you ask why? Yeah, why? Replied Nanashi, confused. Zabuza sighed. You don't take me as threat, do you? Not really, replied Nanashi. I was wearing a 300-pound jacket and you couldn't even hit me. The girls and Zabuza stared at him. What? They all exclaimed, but before he could explain, a laughter came from the edge of the bridge. Everyone looked over and saw a large group of bandits. Zabuza, I don't pay you to sit on your ass the whole day. I come all this way to find you laying down on the job. Though it's not like was actually going to pay you. So you're finally here, snarled Zabuza. The bandits parted to show a short fat man. Who's the chubby midget? Asked Nanashi, not intimidated. That's Gato, explained Naruto, also unfazed, the guy calling all the hits on Tazuna. Really? Asked Nanashi. I thought we'd have to hunt him down, but instead he comes to us. He pulled out his machetes. Let's decapitate him. Not so fast, said Zabuza, standing up. If anyone going to kill that midget, it's going to be me. This guy has a pain in my ass through my whole employment. Alright, fine. Naruto, you take the left, I'll take the right. Naruto nodded. Taking out a katana. Wait, think we should stop to think about this, said Yoko. Too late, said the 3 men with grins on their faces, and they charged. Naruto and Nanashi devastated the bandits, who were shocked at them charging, while Zabuza charged straight through the middle with his large sword held horizontally, killing anyone in front of him all the way up to Gato. Gato was frozen in fear that he couldn't move even as Zabuza's blade cut him in half. When Zabuza turned, he found the large group bandits taken care of, with Nanashi and Naruto standing among the bodies with bloodied weapons hanging from their hands, grins no longer on their faces. They just killed all those people just like that, said Natsumi. Of course she killed people in her life as a shinobi, just not in large groups like they just did. Nanashi turned to them. You said your husband isn't a mass murderer for killing all those rock ninja? He chuckled a bit, but this was kind of hollow. Yet you're here gawking at us for killing them. Just imagine the aftermath of 10,000 killed in an instant. 1 month later, the bridge has been completed during the month, making a new entry into the land of waves. The forgotten mercenaries and the Leaf Shinobi continued to guard the bridge, though due to the death of Gato and the majority of his henchmen, no more attacks have been made on the bridge. Zabuza too left with his apprentice to return to Wave after hearing about the successful revolution. Alright, all we need to do is name this bridge, said Tazuna, putting in the last bolt. Now what would be a good bridge name, he pondered. Well, while you're figuring that out, me and Nanashi have a place we need to go to, said Naruto. They got paid earlier that morning, so everything was set. And we must be returning to our village, said Kushina. My group is tired after a long month of working. Working? Yelled Nanashi, annoyed. You guy didn't even do any fighting. In fact, I saved you asses when you first got here. Shut up, my presence just scared off all the enemies and kept you safe, said Ryu haughtily. Kid, if you'd seen the body pile me and Naruto made a month ago, you wouldn't be so high and mighty, said Nanashi. What did you mean body pile? Mom told me they were so afraid that a namikaze was here all the bad guys left. Said Ryu somewhat confused. That's a load of bull, started Nanashi. You're right honey, said Kushina interrupting Nanashi. Bitch, thought Nanashi. The group took off leaving Tazuna to think. I know, he proclaimed, I'll name this the no-name Maelstrom Bridge. Back with group who were far out of earshot to hear Tazuna's words. Kushina, can I talk to you? Asked Naruto walking up next to her. Of course Soichi, what do you need? Said Kushina, happy her son started a conversation with her. First off, don't call me that, said Naruto lowering Kushina's glee, and I know what you're trying to do to Ryu, but that is not a good idea. You can't shield him from the world forever, eventually the sight of death will come without warning. I don't think you have the right to criticize my parenting method, retorted Kushina. I'm a result of one of your failed parenting method, replied Naruto. I think I have a bigger right than most people. The two continued on in silence up until they came to a four-way crossroad. All right, this is where we part ways. What? Asked Kushina. I thought you'd be coming back to Konoha with us. Something came up, replied Naruto. I'm not letting you go again, you're coming back to Konoha with us to work this out, said Kushina, pulling out a kunai, the rest of the shinobi doing the same. There's 6 trained shinobi here. Thought this might happen, said Naruto, a mischievous smirk coming to his face. Nanashi. Right. Nanashi set off a smoke bomb. The smoke enveloped all of them, then 2 plumes shot out, one going north, the other south. Damn it, cried Kushina, we lost him again. Nanashi. After he and Naruto split up in the smokescreen to confuse the Namikaze family, Nanashi ran north towards the wasteland while Naruto ran south toward the land of snow. Flashback. Nanashi and Naruto are currently packing up to leave the land of waves. Why do you want to go to the land of snow? I thought you'd be jumping at the chance to go to Forgotten Base, asked Nanashi, confused. The base has been there for 1,000 years and it'll probably be there for 1,000 more, explained Naruto in an even tone. But I hear that the Princess Fun movie makers are looking for guards to help defend the set while they're filming there. You just want to meet the actress, don't you, and get an autograph? Deadpanned Nanashi, knowing of Naruto's crush on her. No, I just think it's a good business opportunity, stuttered Naruto. He had blush hidden because his back was turned. Whatever man, said Nanashi in a disbelieving tone. Flashback end. That guy totally wanted to meet Yuki Fujikaze, thought Nanashi, thinking back to the conversation with a small chuckle. Well, anyways, time to go to a place where life doesn't shine. It has been a couple of days since they split up. Nanashi, being the over-the-top headstrong moron of the two, was running non-stop for the past couple of days. He has passed through several countries already and was close to the wasteland and the base. It wasn't long before he noticed noises of the wildlife become increasingly quieter. Then everything just stopped, the noise, wind, everything. In front of him was a desolate rocky area with a little ash floating in the air. Looks like someone crazy with fireballs here. Nanashi took his first step into wasteland. Everything around him was gray and gloomy. This place is as creepy as hell. You know, this actually one of the better places I've been to in my life. It's true, since most people else either hates him, wants to kill him, or scared of his combat capabilities, and the fact he looks like a battle-scared veteran doesn't help. Nanashi walks through the dead environment covered in ash and burnt-to-hell trees until he came across the first thing that looked man-made. It wasn't anything significant or something, it looked like a makeshift bunker made out of sandbags and scrap metal. Behind it was a green jacket. You may be wondering why this is important. Well, this jacket was exactly like Nanashi's. The hell? Have I been here before? He was completely weirded out by that fact. Okay, just because it looks like mine doesn't mean it's exactly like it. As the final test, he picked it up. Holy shit, it's heavy as mine too. He exclaimed out loud. That's when he hears a howling in the distance. Alright, that sounds like something to fight. You see, he likes a good fight, not that he's bloodthirsty. He prefers to beat the crap out of his opponents as opposed to killing them. Fighting just helps him focus and get his mind straight. Nanashi ran towards the sound of howling, passing other jackets and ninja vest. Weapons, both ninja and otherwise, littered the ground. Eventually he came to a large reinforced metal door that was slightly unhinged. The door itself surrounded by a concrete structure. There was a large concentration of forgotten remains, but even more ninja were killed here. The howling came from the other side of the door. Nanashi reached for the metal door. Once he touched, the scenery changed, as did the time of the day. The sky was also clear, it had a reddish tint to it. The sounds of fighting could be heard behind him. Nanashi turned and saw a great battle going on against men wearing jackets like himself, an overwhelming amount of ninja, though these ninja didn't wear any hishiyat to show what village they belonged to. "Bring it on, you snobbish ninja, whatever the hell you call yourselves," said a man who looked like an older version of Nanashi. He also carried 2 machetes like him too, even wore the bandana. The differences was that this man had a red cloth tied on his left shoulder and a constant stubble on his jawline. "Nanashi, our escape route is cut off," yelled another man wearing the same jacket but with a blue cloth. "There's literally millions of them out there, we're holding them off, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last." "The hell he's talking to me about this," thought Nanashi. "I see," said the man, "shouldn't you be talking to Naruto about this? He's our main strategist." "The hell?" thought young Nanashi, "his name is Nanashi too? And what about that Naruto guy?" "He's on the other side of the fort," replied the man. "Right now you're in command here." "Alright then," said older Nanashi, coming up with a plan. "Everyone slowly fall back to the fort. They want to kill us all because of our beliefs, but we're not going to make it. We'll take out as many of them as possible with us." "Right," said the man, who ran off the relay the order. The battle carried on for hours. Eventually the ones who young Nanashi realized were the original Forgotten fell back to the concrete structure built into the rocky wall. Most of the soldiers went inside while a few with orange band on their arms stayed out with the old Nanashi. The younger Nanashi guessed orange bands meant elite soldiers or something. "You should give up," said a voice in a haughty tone. Standing above the ninja army was blue-eyed blonde-haired man in white coat. "My name is Nato Namikaze and I." Just imagine a generic long-winded monologue about why he's so great and how he will destroy the heretics. "Are you shitting? First there's Nanash, then there's Naruto, and now there's a Namikaze who looks like Konoha's 4th Hokage," thought younger Nanashi. "We may not come out of this alive," started the other Nanashi, "but I'll be damned if surrender to a bunch of arrogant pricks like you. Everyone wing sticks now." The elite Forgotten threw strange 3-bladed objects at the ninja army, catching them off guard, and was incredibly effective at decapitating a good number of them and returning to their throwers. The Forgotten fled inside the concrete structure and sealed the door as the rest of the ninja rushed in at them. After that the sky returned to its normal gray gloomy color and the remains of the fighters remained scattered across the field. Nanashi heard the howling once more coming out of the now opened door. Nanashi walked inside and saw even more signs of battle, except there were actually skeletons in here along with scattered weapons and damage to the walls. The remains were all ninja, but as Nanashi walked farther into the base, Forgotten bodies began to be found, though still not as numerous as ninja bodies. Eventually Nanashi came into a large chamber where the bodies looked like they exploded from the corridor. In the center there was clearing. There was 2 bodies, one was wearing a Forgotten jacket with a red band and the other didn't really have anything identifiable on it. But the tattered white coat behind it was something. "Go by." Nanashi stared at the red armband. "Take it," said a mysterious raspy voice that came from all around. Nanashi looked around to try find it, but it was just him among the bodies of the dead and Forgotten. "Take it." Nanashi decided to listen to the creepy voice and untied the armband from the jacket. "This is now yours, wear it with pride and carry on our legacy in this world," said the voice, fading out. Silence reigned in the chamber once again for a few moments as Nanashi stared down at the band in his hand. That was until the howling came again. Alright, I'm coming," said Nanashi, thoroughly annoyed with the howling. He walked down another corridor. It wasn't long until came to another room with a cage at the end. Behind the cage was something strange. "What the hell is that?" 1 month later. "So how was your trip to Snow Country?" asked Nanashi. He and Naruto met up about 10 minutes ago and are heading towards the hidden leaf, which seemed to be gathering a large amount of. "Oh, turns out Princess Fun's actress was actually a real princess and I helped her take back her kingdom." "So how was she?" "She was a bit of a bitch at first," said Naruto, getting a slight chuckle out of Nanashi. "But she got better." Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a picture. Even got an autograph out of it. The picture was of a badly bruised unconscious Naruto being kissed by actor Yuki Fujikaze. Nanashi got a mischievous smirk on his face. "Naruto's got a girlfriend, Naruto's got a girlfriend," he chanted, much to Naruto's annoyance. "Shut up," he said, a little embarrassed. "Oh man, those blonde chicks from Kumo are going to be pissed." "What do you mean by that?" asked Naruto, confused. Nothing, said Nanashi deviously. Sigh anyways, how was your trip to the wasteland? Asked Naruto, changing the subject. Freaky, actually, replied Nanashi, and he began to tell Naruto about the vision he saw, and the red band tied around his arm. The name relations are uncanny, replied Naruto, a little stunned. And I found a dog in the fort too, finished Nanashi. A dog? Nanashi nodded. Okay, where is this dog? Nanashi gave a sharp whistle and a loud crashing noise could be heard off the path. All of a sudden a large furry animal leapt from the brush and stopped behind Nanashi in a sitting position, even like that it came up to their shoulders. Nanashi, started Naruto, a little shocked by the large canine. That's not dog, that's an oversized wolf. Yelled Naruto at the sheer ridiculousness of the animal such as this. Oh really? Said Nanashi. Well, that explains why it would only accept the name wolf. You named it Wolf? Asked Naruto, face palming. It was the only name it wouldn't bite me on, explained Nanashi, rolling up his sleeve to show a multitude of bite marks on his arm. I eventually settled on Wolf, and he began wagging his tail. Why do all the crazy things happen to you when I leave you alone? Asked Naruto, face palming again. I'm that kind of guy, said Nanashi with a shrug. Oh hey, I found a badass weapon that original Forgotten used. Really, what? Asked Naruto, interested as Nanashi reached into his duffel bag, pulling out an object. In my vision they called them wing sticks, explained Nanashi, holding it up and unfolding it into 3 blades connected to a circular core. This thing is freaking awesome, and it comes back to you too. Nanashi, that looks like a windmill shuriken with 3 blades instead of 4, explained Naruto, a bit skeptical. Oh yeah, watch this. Nanashi tossed it into the air. It shot out of sight a little bit. Naruto was about to protest, but Nanashi beat him to it. Just wait a bit, as Nanashi said it with the weapon came back while Nanashi caught it. That seems like incredibly efficient weapon, said Naruto, thinking of the uses the wing stick could provide. I know, right? Agreed Nanashi. So he going to kick the 4th door down? Naruto smirked. I prefer the windows. Good, I hate using the door. This is a fact. After a few minutes of walking they got incredibly close to the town. Naruto pulled out a hooded cloak. Nanashi, understanding that he'd probably want to keep hidden for as long as possible in the village, so he pulled out another green bandana like the one around his head and tied it around his face, covering the bottom half. They walked up to the gate unnoticed. I mean, who would notice to teenagers with their faces covered and giant dog behind them? They just walked in. Behind was group of genin from varying villages walking towards the gate. Did the hidden leaf finally manage to piss everyone off and cause SW4? Shinobi War 4? Asked Nanashi. Then wouldn't the every shinobi be rushing to stop them? You did say the leaf's security sucked. Yeah, but I don't think any security force is this bad, replied Naruto. What about that on heist job we pulled? Replied Nanashi. We literally walked in and took the thing in the middle of the frickin' day too. That was more of raid, replied Naruto, remembering the event. Besides, you're the moron that didn't wait until night and jumped through the doors, grabbed the thing and jumped through the friggin' wall. Good times, said Nanashi with smile. You idiot, muttered Naruto. Hokage's office. Minato was doing the one enemy who he has not discovered to defeat. In another dimension he would use his shadow clone technique to fight this, but sadly. Wait, sadly? This is as funny as hell, especially the look on his face that I cannot find the words to describe because it's so funny. This is troubling. He was thinking back to when Kushina returned to give her report about the mission to Wave, about how Naruto was still alive but has friend that can go toe-to-toe with S-rank ninja and claims chakra doesn't affect him at all. Before any further thoughts on this topic could be made, the wall behind him blew open. The Anbu bodyguards that are usually hidden in the room sprung into action, but 3 figures leapt through and 2 simultaneously round-housed them through wall into the room on the other side of the hallway. Standing there were 2 boys. One had hooded cloak covering his entire body, the other wore mainly green and has face covered with a bandana. Standing behind the boys was an oversized wolf. What's up, dildo? Said the boy in green. Who are you? Asked Minato. He didn't even sense them coming and they dispatched 2 of his Anbu easily. They must be very skilled assassins. I think he forgot about you already, said the boy in green. Not surprising, he barely knew I existed when I was around. The boy in cloak removed his hood, showing a face he's all too familiar with. Naruto, said Minato, so he really was alive. A haughty look came upon his face. So you finally came back. I suppose you expect you'd have a nice warm bed to crawl back into a nice home. Well, too bad. If you want to return, you're going to have to beg. So this is where Ryu gets it, thought Naruto with a neutral expression. This guy is total jackass, thought Nanashi, a bit pissed off. I didn't have any such thoughts, said Naruto calmly. When I left, made sure I'd never go back. Besides, he smirked, sleeping on the cold hard ground has been better than your warm bed. Minato was grimacing at the retort before he could think of comeback. The door opened and a red-haired woman. Minato, what happened? There's large hole in the hall. She paused when she saw Naruto. Naruto. Oh great, the red hot-blooded Habanero is here, said Nanashi sarcastically. There goes our get in get out plan. You little brat, said Kushina, getting an irritated look on her face while clenching her fist while Naruto face palmed. She was about to hit Nanashi when she heard a growling noise and noticed the oversized wolf in an aggressive stance behind him. What the hell is that thing? What, you never seen a wolf before? Asked Nanashi, confused as to why everyone was making a big deal over his new traveling companion. Is he an idiot? Asked Minato, astounded. He doesn't find anything weird with canine size. That's what I've figured out in the 4 years we've been working together, replied Naruto. Hey, don't talk about me like I'm not here, yelled Nanashi, and I don't want to hear that from some village leader swinging his dildo around for killing 10,000 people. Swinging my what? Asked Minato, flushing. Because of his cage status, no one has talked to him like that in a long time. Actually, no one talked to him like that at all ever. Enough, said Naruto. Nanashi, we said what came here to say. Let's go. They were about to jump out the hole they made. Wait a moment, said Minato with a stern look. First you break a hole in my wall, knock out 2 of my Anbu, then you insult me and you think you can leave? You're in the middle of a virtual fortress. I could have every ninja after you in a matter of seconds. So we'll kick their ass and leave, said Nanashi plainly. Kicked plenty of ninja ass over the years. How about instead of that, I have a proposition for you, said Minato. Both boys looked at him expectantly. The Chunin exams are coming up next week. If you two can pass that, then I'll let you go and have search parties after you stop. There are search parties after us? Well, they're probably after Naruto, but still I haven't seen any. Holy crap, this place sucks, thought Nanashi. What are the Chunin exams? Naruto turned to him. The Chunin exams are a tournament between hidden villages all over the world, explained Naruto. Basically you win, you get promoted, but mainly it's to show what each village has in terms of skill. So, said Nanashi, taking it in, it's pretty much an international waving contest? Minato and Kushina both flushed and face faulted at the question. Pretty much, replied Naruto, used to his friend's vulgarity. Well, I don't want to participate in your waving contest, because I don't have anything to prove, stated Nanashi with conviction. Nanashi, listen to me, which would you rather fight, some trained Junin or green as grass genin? Asked Naruto, trying to coax his friend into the exam. Nanashi just stared at him with look that said, dude, do you seriously even need to ask, Junin? Sai should have seen that coming. Before any further conversation took place, the Hokage's assistant came running up. Lord Hokage, the Mizukage is here to see you. She stated she was pretty average civilian, not too important to the story but just important enough to have a small part. Tell her I'm busy, said Minato. He already had enough to deal with, now he wasn't ready to deal with politics. Well, she's not waiting, she replied timidly as she said that an attractive auburn-haired woman wearing a blue one-piece dress walked in. Hello, Lord Hokage, how have you been? She replied. Mei, exclaimed Naruto and Nanashi at the same time. Their old commander was now the leader of the village they fought in. To say they were shocked was an understatement. Boys, she exclaimed back before smiling and pulling both of them into a hug. How are my 2 favorite freedom fighters doing? Nanashi was the first to recover. The Hokage wants us to compete in his waving contest, he said plainly. Maid turned to Naruto for translation. The Yondaime wants us to compete in the Chunin exams, explained Naruto, but Nanashi doesn't want to, and well, you know how he can be. Maid turned to look at Nanashi, who was blushing somewhat because the hug they were in was close to Mei's mounds. Mei then got a devious thought into her mind. Oh Nanashi, I haven't seen you 2 fight since the revolution against Hanzo, said Mei, letting go of Naruto and pulling Nanashi in closer. No, this may seem uncomfortable or heaven to most people. Well, as I'm sure I've explained before, Nanashi is not used to signs of affection, so this is way outside his comfort zone, and I'd love to see you fight again to bring back memories. Really? Asked Nanashi, who was beet red at the moment. Okay, I guess can compete in the waving tournament. Mei chuckled and let him go, which Nanashi then crumpled to the floor. Despite how Mei seems as a high-class woman who would have great manners, she actually finds Nanashi crude remarks humorous. The boys left, mainly Naruto dragging a disoriented Nanashi out of the room with Wolf following behind, tail wagging. Wonder where he got such a large wolf? Mei wondered out loud, with a pondering look on his face. Not sure, didn't think canines that size existed outside the Inzuka clan. Said Yondaime, also wondering about the wolf. Anyways, about your revolution. Hanzo, what was he doing in Kiri? Mei's face turned serious at the question. I'm not too clear on that myself. From what I know, he was ousted from AIM by a group of high-class ninja led by Bloodline User and decided to take over Kiri with inside help and his remnants. I think he harbored a hatred for Bloodline Users from his defeat, which caused him to start the purges. Do you think this group will be a threat in the future? Asked Minato. I really can't say, said Mei, shaking her head, but they ousted Hanzo from AIM, if that's anything to go by. But they didn't kill him, said Minato, so they couldn't finish him off. I assume that was you being the Mizukage. Oh no, it wasn't me, she said cheerfully as Minato looked at her curiously. Then who was it? Asked Minato. Oh, why, it was Naruto and Nanashi, of course. She said this with a smile on her face. What, with Nanashi? The fourth Hokage is a prick. Grumbled Nanashi. He and Naruto decided to split up. Wolf decided to follow Nanashi as he walked through the back alleys, which were more of a fenced-in lane. Hey, let me go, said a little kid's voice. Nanashi looked farther ahead and saw a guy in a totally black outfit and girl with sandy blonde hair and a large fan on her back. The guy was holding a kid by the collar while facing down a group of Leaf Genin. I know those two. Nanashi got an idea into his head. He smirked, then put on a serious face and walked up behind them. When he got in range, he kicked the boy in black in the ass. Who did that? He yelled, enraged. Then he saw Nanashi. You, what are you doing here? He had a panicked expression on his face. Glad to see you remember me, Kankuro. At this point Nanashi had a scary grin on his face. After all, I don't need to kick your ass again? A little while before Wave, Naruto and Nanashi ended up in Suna, where Nanashi, being bored, picked a fight with the first guy he saw, which happened to be Kankuro. Kankuro was knocked out before he could even draw his puppet. Hey, Nanashi, said the sandy blonde-haired. Screw it, you guys know it's Temari. During their stay in Suna, Temari developed a crush on Naruto, and of course with him being entirely oblivious. Both of them are totally dense if girl likes them. Hey, Temari, Nanashi replied. So where's Raccoon Boy? I'm up here, said a dry, emotionless voice. He looked up to see a red-haired Gaara. It's Gaara, okay. Also during there, the Ichibi managed to make Gaara go on a rampage due to reacting with the Forgotten Warriors. Anyways, the fight was awesome. Probably better than any of the fights alright in this story. It had everything: explosions, witty one-liners, and two determined heroes with balls of steel. Well, in the end they won and Gaara seriously mellowed. The fight, however, was not without casualty. The Cage, the Sand siblings' father, died. Hey, it's you? Nanashi turned to see Ryu, who was already glaring at him. Yeah, it's me, replied Nanashi and turned towards Temari. So what you guys doing here? Don't ignore me, yelled Ryu angrily. Is Naruto here? I was wondering that to put in Temari. Somewhere, answered Nanashi plainly and turned to Temari. I'm here for the Chunin exams, she answered. I am also in the Chunin exams, said Ryu. Of course, for an elite ninja such as myself it's only natural, not that some common mercenary would be able to compete. Nanashi grinned a bit. Well, I guess that makes me uncommon, stated Nanashi, confusing everybody, because I'm in that little exam of yours too. What? Exclaimed everyone present. Even Gaara yelled. Why? Asked Temari, shocked at the revelation. I thought you weren't a ninja. I'm not, replied Nanashi. Village leader is a great big asshole and shanghaied me and Naruto and by Bud Wolf here into going into the exams, explained Nanashi, gesturing to oversized animal behind him who was walking up to the group. What the hell is that thing? Everyone yelled. Why does everyone keep saying that? Asked Nanashi, clueless. He's a wolf, I thought it was obvious. What kind of wolf grows that big? Yelled Ryu. That's bigger than an Inzuka dog. This one does, replied Nanashi with a blank expression. This guy is a total moron? Was the collective thought. Well anyways I need find Naruto, it's about time we met up, said Nanashi. See you all when my foot meets your asses. With that he walked off. Naruto was walking through the street in the more crowded area of the village, and just like 4 years ago no one paid attention. Though despite everything there was one place that he wanted to see again, the only people that didn't ridicule him for his lack of chakra. He took out a small piece of paper. On it said, "Free ramen on Wednesdays." It wasn't an official printout, it was more of a crudely drawn homemade coupon. But it was one of the only gifts Naruto received in his life and he treasured it. He turned down the street that he remembered the place being on. He walked down street keeping to the side as to not attract attention, as he was sure the fan club that gave him so much hell in the past was still around. He walked up to a small ramen stand titled Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto smiled a bit and went inside. The owner Tucci seemed to be busy making something, but he still recognized that someone was there. "Anything I can get you?" he asked without turning around. "Yes, I'd like to ask if this coupon is still good," replied Naruto, placing the coupon on the table. "What coupon?" asked Tucci, turning around but looking straight at the table. An expression of surprise came over his face. "I only ever made one of these, Naruto?" Naruto had a genuine smile on his face right now. "Hey, old man." While his family ignored him and the Fourth's fan club tired to kill him, Naruto found this place to be an actual home and the old man and his daughter to be more of a family than the ones at home. You see, during the years he was in the village, Naruto helped them with their problems and they helped him with his. Tucci himself pulled Naruto into a hug and turned around. "Ayame," he yelled, "come in here, we have a very important customer." "What it is it another magazine journalist?" yelled Ayame, but paused when she saw Naruto. "Oh my god, you're back, you are actually back." She rushed to pull him into a hug and few tears running down her cheeks. "Yeah, I'm back," he said, returning the hug. It was a few moments before they parted. "So can I have a miso ramen for old time's sake?" "Coming right up," they replied as if they were synchronized. One Piece heaven, in this hell, he thought, then smirked. Totally worth it. Nanashi, Naruto, and Wolf were walking to the testing site in the academy. "So what room were we supposed to go to again?" asked Nanashi. Naruto sighed. "Room 302, it's on the 3rd floor, didn't you listen to what Minato said?" "Of course not, that guy pisses me off," replied Nanashi, Wolf barking in agreement. "He pisses me off too," said Naruto, "but if we're going to win we're going to need to focus, and that means listening to a less leader who everyone worships because he throws his dildo around," interrupted Nanashi. Naruto just stared at him. "Well, I was going to say him, but that works too," said Naruto with a small smile. If it was anyone else they would either flush or berate him. But Naruto has grown used to his partner's somewhat vulgar outbursts. They entered the academy and went up a flight of stairs and saw a group of genin arguing with 2 older kids who were blocking them from the room called 302. "I thought you said 302 was on the top floor," said Nanashi in a hushed voice. This is probably a trap to root out the idiots of the competitors," said Naruto. "If we're lucky we'll have less people deal with. So we'll just move up to the 3rd floor without anyone noticing." "Okay," said Nanashi. "Let's go." Naruto looked at him surprised. "Really? I thought you'd welcome more people to beat the crap out of," said Naruto, confused. Replied Nanashi with a shrug. "I woke up feeling lazy today." They proceeded to walk up the next flight of stairs. "Ha ha ha," came a voice from the crowd and Naruto recognized it instantly. "I can see through your trick, this isn't really the testing room." Members turned to look at a red-haired boy shouting this. "We're on the 2nd floor, 302 is 1 level up. You may fool some lesser ninja, but I'm the son of the 4th Hokage." Murmurings went on among the gathered group. "You dumbass," yelled Naruto. "That was the point of the trap, so dumbasses like yourself don't leak in. If you were smart then you'd just sneak past crowd and just go on with the test." "But wouldn't that be dishonorable?" said a genin from the group. "Well, welcome to the real world," yelled Nanashi. "Aren't you ninjas supposed to use deceit and stealth to get the job done anyways? We don't hear that from some. Hey, what village are you from anyway? I don't see any headbands." "We're mercenaries," explained Naruto. "We got roped into this because basically the Yanadime is big asshole and apparently so is his son." Naruto directed his gaze at Ryu. Ryu was seething. "Hey, you're his son too," he retorted, gaining a gasp from the crowd. "In blood only," said Naruto in a serious but somewhat sad manner before walking off, Nanashi and Wolf following suit. I blame you for using the word lucky, said Nanashi when they got in front of the door. Remember forgotten warriors cursed with misfortune. Naruto chuckled a bit. When they got inside, they saw a few other teams made it past the trap on their own. It wasn't before Nanashi and Wolf got into a staring contest with Kiba and Akumaru. They stood there in silence, them checking out the other's animal companion. It wasn't long before Nanashi got grin. My dog is bigger than yours. All implications implied. Then an argument over if Wolf was naturally that big or not. After a while Naruto got tired of Nanashi arguing and pulled him away, while a silver-haired boy walked over the leaf genin. Greetings, he said. My name is Kabuto, and I was wondering if you'd like some help with the competition. Aren't you a little old to be a genin? Asked Ryu in Snotty Town. Yes, this exam is harder than it looks and I haven't done much outside the village to warrant a promotion. He explained, but still giving off the friendly expression. So is there anyone you'd like info on? I got one, said Ryu. Naruto Namikaze. Just as he said that, a knife embedded itself on the desk dangerously close to Ryu's hand, and this made everyone in the room go silent as Naruto walked over to Leaf Nin and pulled the knife out of the desk. Sorry, he said. I had a muscle spasm. They could hear little laughter coming from Nanashi, who was trying to restrain himself. Oh, and my last name isn't Namikaze anymore, I dropped it a few years back. With that he walked back over to Nanashi, who was still trying to control his laughter. After a few moments the chatting went back up. I find it strange you'd want to find out about your own brother, but oh well. Kabuto pulled out a card and channeled some chakra into it. His picture showed up but nothing. Well, this is odd, apparently he isn't registered shinobi. They said that they were mercenaries when we were in Wave, put in Hinata. Then maybe they're in the non-shinobi bingo book, said Kabuto, pulling out that exact book and began to flip through the pages. Let's see here. Ah, here we go. Naruto, no last name, and Nanashi. Same thing. It appears they founded a mercenary group known as the Forgotten and, well, this is odd, both of them appear to lack chakra. Activities include numerous odd jobs: bandit hunting, caravan guard duty, bodyguards, and pissing off those in power. They are rumored to have fought in the Kiri War and defeated Hanzo himself. Well, that's impressive. And they appear to be wanted by Iwi for. This can't be right. What? Asked Kiba. Well, apparently. Hey, I remember you. A shout interrupted Kabuto as they turned to see what was happening. An angry Iwa genin was pointing an accusatory finger at Nanashi. You're the bastards who ran into our village and wrote, "4th Hokage's bitch," on the Tsuchikage statue's forehead. This brought shocked and disbelieving looks from the genin present and angry looks from the Iwa genin. And then you flipped him off and ran. Nanashi had a proud look on his face and laughed. And the best part is I wouldn't have done if this guy didn't dare me to, he said, pointing a thumb over his shoulder at Naruto. Hey, I didn't expect you to actually do it, replied Naruto. I was starving for 2.5 days and you waved 1,000 ryo in my face. Of course I was going to do it. Hunger makes people act irrational, you know. You're never rational in the first place. Which brings to question, why you'd even think I wouldn't do it. Nanashi pointed out. Enough, said the Iwa genin, gaining their attention. You better watch your back, every genin for IWA is gunning for you. He returned to his group and random conversations began sprouting up around the area until the proctor appeared. He was a scary-looking dude, tall, imposing guy in a trench coat and 2 scars on his face. Alright maggots, get your asses in your seats, he yelled, and everyone quickly did so. My name is Ibiki Morino and I'm the proctor for this exam. He went over the rules of the exam that the author doesn't feel like writing them. Basically, if you're caught cheating then you lose points. And it's a 10-question exam and the 10th question will be revealed later. Oh, and if you're caught cheating 3 times you're out. The test began and Nanashi began to sweat bullets. He's not exactly the paper test type. Hey, it's not his fault. He was generally ignored for most of his life and had no parents. He's lucky he can read and write. Naruto was sending him a message via winking Morse code. How bad is it? Asked Naruto, realizing his partner's issues with tests. On a scale from 1 to 10, totally fucked. Want to use that? Yes. The winking, however, did not go unnoticed by Ibiki. Something wrong with your eye, punk? He asked, directing his steely gaze at Nanashi. Nanashi, though not one to carefully think things out, is however quick-witted. Oh, I just got some dust in my eye, no big deal. he said, keeping a small grin. You know, your eyes suspiciously looked like it was sending Morse code. The man was now focusing all of his intimidation, if at all possible, on Nanashi. Isn't that something? Said Nanashi. Well, anyways, I have test to take. So do you mind? Ibiki seemed to let it go and turned his back the moment he did. Nanashi slipped a small detonator out of his sleeve and pulled the trigger, and a large explosion happened outside, causing everyone in the room, even the proctors, to move the windows. And in the confusion, Nanashi swiped a test he noticed was already done up to the 10th question and quickly copied down the answers before replacing it seemingly unnoticed. He went to join the group to avoid suspicion, while flashing the thumbs up to Naruto. After the awe died down and bit of shouting from Ibiki, the genin eventually went back to their desks and went back wondering what caused the explosion. A few people close to the window noticed an Anbu squad show up to investigate. Other than that, the test went on quietly, though few teams got caught and were disqualified. Alright maggots, yelled Ibiki, pencils down. It's time for the 10th question. Everyone looked up expectantly. Now this question is special, you can choose not to take it, but you'll be out of the exams until next time. But if you get it wrong, you're permanently out. Chunin exams, meaning you can never take this again. But there's people here who took the exam before and failed, complained Ryu. Well, they obviously haven't dealt with me, retorted Ibiki. Crap, 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 thought Nanashi repeatedly. Get this wrong, we're screwed. Give up, we're screwed. In short, we are so totally screwed. He looked over to Naruto, who kept a calm expression, but Nanashi could tell he was nervous too. Crap, Nanashi isn't one for these kinds of test. Let's hope this question is something that idiot can answer, he thought frantically. Some teams began giving up and leave the room. When the last team left, over half the room was empty. Well, the rest of you are either the boldest or the stupidest. Either way, congratulations, said Ibiki. The whole room looked at him in confusion. You passed. Still confusion. I guess you must be the stupidest, sighed Ibiki. So the 10th question was total bullshit and was used to root out the pansies? Asked Nanashi with a blank expression on his face. You're not as dumb as you look, kid, said Ibiki. Yes, I have never been so happy to be BC'd before, exclaimed Nanashi, relived. This test wasn't about what you knew, explained Ibiki. It was to test on how you could get info, and how well you could get it without getting caught. Though some of weren't as discreet as ninja should be, he directed his gaze at Nanashi. Hahaha, figured that one out, did you? He chuckled nervously while scratching, referring to the explosives he set off. And besides, I'm not a ninja and I am getting pretty damn tired of telling people that. He yelled, now angry. Wolf, who was napping during the test and recently woke up, barked in agreement. Damn straight, he said, crossing his arms as if understanding the oddly sized animal. Crazy kid, thought Ibiki, smirking at his antics. Anyways, gaining intelligence can mean the difference between life and death. He was about to pull off his headgear when a figure shot through the window, breaking the glass. It stopped halfway across the room and spread out its cover, which apparently had woman dressed in a provocative "oh, for crying out loud, it's Anko people," in all her maniacal dango-eating craziness. Hello maggots, my name is Anko Mitarashi, I'm the proctor for the 2nd exam. The room looked on in stunned silence. The cloth she was wrapped turned out to be a banner saying, "Number 1 hottest and single kunoichi in Konoha, Anko Mitarashi." Nice entrance, commented Nanashi. Okay, almost quiet. Well, at least someone appreciates my style, said Anko, shooting Ibiki, who was coming out from around the banner, a look. You're just saying that because you don't even bother using a window, said Naruto to Nanashi. It's funny as hell to see the look on the person's face when I blow through the wall, defended Nanashi. You should have seen the last guy, I got him so bad he pissed himself. Nanashi then broke out laughing while Naruto face palmed. Hey maggots, pay attention, yelled Anko. The two turned and she told everyone to follow her. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.